One pull of the trigger can flip a person's life upside down faster than a toddler finding a permanent marker. Our female lead, though. She's not your average daydreaming heroine. While others are busy getting fooled by sweet talk and shiny smiles, she's out here seeing straight through the nonsense like she's got built-in lie detectors, because in fact she does. But for all her sharp instincts and tough exterior, even she can't outwit the wild, unpredictable thing we call fate. Spoiler alert, it's got a twisted sense of humor and no chill. The cops are hot on the heels of a suspect, throwing every ounce of energy into the chase like it's a season finale. When they finally corner the guy, they try the whole "let's talk this out" routine, even though he's clearly auditioning for a sprinting competition. Surrounded and out of options, the criminal whips out a grenade like he's in an action movie, yanks the pin, and chaos erupts. Officers scatter like cats at a vacuum cleaner convention. But while everyone else is diving for cover and questioning their life choices, one person charges straight toward the blast, Officer Sinclair. Her colleagues watch in sheer horror, probably ready to nominate her for either a medal or a psych evaluation. And yes, the grenade explodes, but it does, into a cloud of smoke. Turns out it was just a dramatic smoke bomb, and Sinclair, ever the sharp one, had already sniffed out the bluff. She bolts after the suspect like she's chasing down the last slice of pizza at a party, closing the gap in seconds. With a move straight out of a wrestling highlight reel, she slams him to the ground, zero hesitation, full commitment. Once he's down, she gets to the real business, grilling him for the bomb's disarm code. He tries to act tough, but her no-nonsense tone, and "I will ruin your whole day" energy break him down fast. He spills, "Cut the blue wire." But when Officer Sinclair radios in, she coolly tells her team to cut the red wire instead. Now, with dozens of lives hanging in the balance, her colleagues on the other end are understandably sweating bullets. But Sinclair doesn't flinch, she remains calm, says it's the red wire, and she means it. A few tense seconds pass, then the bomb squad chimes in, all clear. The bomb's neutralized, crisis averted, and as the suspect is hauled off, one of her fellow officers approaches with a half-smile, telling her she did great, even if she nearly gave them all a collective heart attack with that whole charging at a live grenade moment. She casually shrugs off the whole grenade situation like it was just Tuesday, and tells her colleague it was obviously fake, like she could totally tell. Then, without waiting for a reply, she's off again, leaving him standing there wondering if she's part detective, part magician, or just really good at guessing. A few blocks away, in the quiet of a nearby alley, Sinclair finally slows down. The adrenaline fades, and with it comes a wave of reflection. She crouches, hands on her knees, and the memories hit hard. She's proud, because today, she saved lives, but that pride mixes with something deeper, something heavier. The tears come, uninvited but not unwelcome, as her thoughts drift back to the ruins of Allendale. She was just a child then, back when her powers weren't sharpened and life was still somewhat kind. Then the fire came and it consumed everything. Lives were lost, buildings flattened, and people pinned up as martyrs, symbols of a revolution, or the calling card of the Phantom Scythe. That name still lingers like smoke in her lungs, the one mystery she hasn't solved, the one shadow she's still chasing. But make no mistake, Officer Lauren Sinclair isn't quitting until that chapter is closed for good. Flashes of little Lauren running through the flames, face streaked with tears, fuel every step she takes because that haunting night is her fire, her purpose. But chasing the truth about the Phantom Scythe isn't a solo mission, not anymore. To finish what she started, she'll have to team up with the one person who might hold the missing piece. Who is he? Well, let's just say, things are about to get interesting. Stick around. In the quiet of night, shadows slink through the city, and strange things begin to unfold. One case after another, each more chilling than the last, all tied together by a single, haunting detail. A purple hyacinth left delicately at every scene, like some kind of sinister calling card from a floral enthusiast with poor morals. But rewind 7 hours, and the city is nothing but sunshine and latte foam. Inside a cozy little cafe not far from the crime scene, our female lead, Lauren, sips her drink across from Mr. Evans, who seems more interested in hearing himself talk than in actually drinking his overpriced espresso. He's got plenty to say, mostly about his wealthy parents breathing down his neck because, at 28, he's still single. Lauren listens with a polite smile, but she's not buying a word of it. Her internal lie radar lights up like a Christmas tree at every sentence. In truth, Mr. Evans is very much not single, and definitely not winning any Husband of the Year awards either. Still, he keeps up the charade with the confidence of a guy who thinks clearing his browser history makes him a tech genius. Lauren's eyes drift past him to the glass window, where something outside catches her attention, and just like that, her focus shifts because, outside the cafe window, a familiar face bounces into view. It's Kim, her ever-dramatic friend, who immediately breaks into a full-blown smile and wave combo, practically doing a cheer routine on the sidewalk. Lauren, still trapped across the table from Mr. Evans and his endless monologue about inheritance drama, channels every ounce of her desperation into a pleading stare. Kim, always quick on the uptake, and even quicker to overdo it, nods, then dramatically hurls herself face-first into the glass like she mistook it for an open doorway. The thud is loud enough to startle a nearby baby and exactly the distraction Lauren needs. She starts to slide out of her seat, but Mr. Evans, not exactly known for picking up on social cues, grabs her wrist with the conviction of a man trying to hold onto the last cookie. Unfortunately for him, Lauren's done playing nice. She calmly, yet savagely, lists every fib he's told in the past 10 minutes like she's reading out the charges in a courtroom drama. Married. Check. Cheating. Double check. And Mr. Evans is left blinking like a fish out of water as Lauren smiles sweetly, wishes him the loveliest evening, and walks out without looking back. From a corner table, someone watches the whole scene unfold, and judging by the smirk creeping onto his face, he's enjoying the free drama with his cappuccino. Outside the cafe, Lauren links arms with Kim, both of them strolling off with the ease of best friends who've shared far too many chaotic evenings. They dive straight into a spirited recap of Lauren's latest dating disaster, with Kim laughing and Lauren insisting, for the 100th time, that this is all her uncle's fault. He's the one who nudged her into giving love a shot, though if weirdos were a dating genre, Lauren's apparently collecting them like rare stamps. Their chatter slows as they spot a little boy by the curb, arms full of newspapers, his front page screaming something dramatic about Allendale. Lauren's stride falters, just for a moment. Kim sees it, and though Lauren may play it cool, anything Allendale-related still tugs at something deeper. Kim, in true ride-or-die fashion, smoothly shifts the conversation, asking for more juice about the date. Lauren, grateful for the lifeline, launches into the full scoop, from Mr. Evans' fake bachelor act to the great escape, exaggerations and all, as they disappear down the sidewalk. Later that night, under a glowing moon, our girl returns home, and her handmaiden Lucy greets her at the door with a knowing smile and a quick chat, before Lauren excuses herself and heads upstairs. The quiet creeps in as she walks up the stairs to her room, her thoughts wandering, not to Evans, or even Kim, but to her uncle. The one man who's never let her down. In the absence of her parents, he's been the anchor in her life, the reason she still believes in family. Back in her room, our female lead wastes no time diving into work, her desk buried under papers, front and center, the Allendale Station tragedy from a decade ago. She tells herself she's moved on, but the tight grip on that newspaper says otherwise. Frustrated, she shoves it back into a box just as her phone rings. It's an emergency. Before long, details are relayed, and in no time, she's suited up, grabs her gun, and bolts out the door. But the real story lingers behind on her wall, a web of clippings, photos, and red string-level chaos. The Allendale case, unsolved, untouched, and very much still haunting Officer Lauren Sinclair. Duty calls, and Officer Lauren Sinclair blazes through the streets of Ardalis like she's racing the wind, minus the cape, but definitely with purpose. Word just came in, another hit, and all signs point to the infamous phantom scythe. Assassins are nothing new in Ardalis, sadly, but this group isn't your average shady bunch. They are like a supervillain convention rolled into one, blending thieves, terrorists, and criminal masterminds into one terrifying syndicate. No one knows who's at the top of the food chain yet, but their body count keeps growing, and tonight, it seems they've struck again. Lauren finally arrives at the scene and spots her teammates, Will and Kim, already on site. She figures they must have been called in as backup too, though judging by Kim's expression, she'd have preferred literally anything else on her day off. Will, on the other hand, looks far too chipper for someone standing near a crime scene, but he insists that between the three of them, no one knows the area better. And he's not wrong, they've practically memorized every alley, rooftop, and shady corner in the district. Whether it's solving crimes or arguing over lunch spots, this trio's always in sync. Officer Will gives the squad a quick rundown of the situation, and lets them know backups en route, along with none other than Detective Oliver March, the guy whose trench coat has seen more action than most crime novels. Just as the trio steps toward the building, a woman suddenly bursts through the front door, screaming like she's trying to win an Oscar. Will immediately steps in, doing his best impression of a human panic button reset. He calms her down enough to get her to walk them through what happened and, more importantly, where Mrs. Grayson is. Through tears and shaky breaths, the woman explains that she couldn't sleep and was pacing around when she heard something strange from Mrs. Grayson's room. Curious and apparently very brave, she went to check it out, only to find Lady Grayson lying there, not doing too well in the being alive department. Naturally, she panicked and sprinted out of there like her feet had plans of their own. Just as she wraps up her grim tale, the cavalry arrives. Detective March enters with all the calm swagger of someone who's done this way too many times and asks for an update. Will fills him in, noting they were just about to head in and search the house. But then a sudden, loud bang echoes from a nearby building, snapping everyone into high alert like someone just pressed a giant panic button. Officer Kim's instincts kick in, she's convinced it's a gunshot from across the street, and that's all the team needs to launch into action. Detective March takes charge of the witness, while the rest of the squad takes off toward the noise, back up close behind like the world's most intense game of Follow the Leader. All officers are geared up and ready, and just for a split second, Officer Sinclair spots someone, more or less a shadowy figure darting across a rooftop, and she signals her team immediately, like the human version of a bat signal. They split up without hesitation. Kim and Will rush into the building to check for any possible victims, while Sinclair and the others take the high road, literally charging after the suspect above. The chase is chaotic, the kind action movies dream of, and even Lauren, who's no stranger to sprinting over danger, can't help but note how fast this guy is. Rooftop to rooftop, she matches him step for step, determined not to let him slip away. Meanwhile, downstairs, Lieutenant Will and Kim crash through the door like a SWAT team in a hurry, tearing through the building as they head upstairs, praying they are not already too late. Back on the rooftops, Officer Lauren Sinclair finally closes in on the suspect, close enough to catch the smug, dirty smirk he flashes her before taking a leap off the edge like he's auditioning for a stunt double gig. She pauses for just a second, mentally questioning her life choices, but then swallows hard and leaps after him without a second thought. Meanwhile, inside the building, Lieutenant Will and Officer Kim reach a room upstairs and discover a body, lifeless, blooded, and unfortunately very much dead. But what truly stops Will in his tracks is the delicate purple hyacinth placed ominously beside the victim. That little flower carries a big message, and both officers instantly know what it means. Kim, stunned by the realization of who's behind it, barely processes the scene before something else kicks in. Lauren, her best friend, is still chasing a potential killer alone across unstable rooftops, and the thought of anything happening to her sets Kim into motion like a bullet from a barrel. Back outside, Lauren pushes forward, gaining on the suspect until he finally seems trapped at a dead end. Just when she thinks it's over, he pulls off some ridiculous cat-like move and scales the wall as if gravity called in sick. But surprise! Lauren was one step ahead, literally. She intercepts him at the top, sending him crashing down, and it's a hard-earned victory, because she even takes a hit in the process. Both Lauren and the suspect hit the ground hard, rolling straight into a scuffle. Blows fly in every direction, but most of Lauren's punches either miss, or get blocked like the guy's got built-in fight radar. In the middle of the chaos, she spots her gun lying out of reach, great timing. The fight's clearly not going her way, but she powers through with a final burst of adrenaline, only to get knocked flat by a clean hit. For a heartbeat, everything freezes, her life flashes before her eyes. The suspect looms over her, sword at her neck, but doesn't strike. He hesitates, and for a long second, they just stare at each other, breathless. Why didn't he do it? Who even is this guy? Whatever the answer, it's clear, this is far from over. Officer Sinclair can't wrap her head around it. He just stands there like he's waiting for a bus. So, naturally, she seizes the moment and delivers a solid kick that sends him sprawling, like textbook flying villain maneuver, before snapping the cuffs on and reading him his rights with all the dramatic flair of a late-night cop drama. But instead of trembling or begging for mercy, he flashes her a smug grin like he's auditioning for a toothpaste commercial and claims, oh so casually, that he won't be in her custody for long. Bold, yes. Delusional. Maybe. As she pulls out her radio to call it in, they get into a classic enemies to snarky rivals type of exchange, even with her weapon aimed directly at his very punchable face. He then drops the bombshell, he's an assassin. Just, casually, almost like it's a LinkedIn job title. That, of course, sets off a phantom scythe radar, but he's quick to deny any association, as if that's the most offensive thing she's accused him of. Officer Sinclair's expression says it all. She's this close to short-circuiting from the mix of rage, disbelief, and the overwhelming urge to throw him into a very deep paperwork pile. Officer Lauren Sinclair makes it abundantly clear, she's not keeping this guy alive out of kindness or curiosity. He's just a potentially useful lead in her mission to take down the elusive phantom scythe. She presses him for details, leader names, crew members, secret handshakes, but he insists he's flying solo, and she doesn't buy it for a second. Cue the assassin breaking into laughter like she just told the world's funniest joke. He finds her confidence cute, presumptuous, but cute. She, on the other hand, is far from amused because in her mind, he's giving Rookie with an ego energy based on what she saw at the earlier crime scene. We are talking 2 victims, a mess left behind, and actual witnesses. It's giving amateur hour, really. He doesn't deny the killings, doesn't show even a flicker of remorse, and even brags about never getting caught before, not to mention claiming no one's ever bested him in a fight. At this point, Sinclair's patience is thinner than her tolerance for overconfident murderers, but she sticks to protocol like a pro. He's under arrest, he'll stand trial, and soon enough, he'll be enjoying the hospitality of a cold, cozy jail cell. At least that's the plan. But just as she's laying it all out like a true officer of the law, he chuckles again, calls her brave, but with that special brand of arrogance that makes ignorant feel like a backhanded compliment. And that hits a nerve. The assassin isn't done poking the hornet's nest, he leans in, bound wrists and all, and starts picking Officer Sinclair apart like he's reading aloud from her autobiography. He hits all the right pressure points, from her personal vendetta against the phantom scythe to the not-so-subtle suggestion that this whole revenge-fueled badge-wearing career move might just stem from losing someone close. He even dares to ask who died, and when she flinches, he knows he's hit the jackpot. For a moment, she freezes, just a flicker, but quickly shakes it off like a champ. She goes to radio her team, but he interrupts with a curveball. How about a partnership? Yes, the cuffed man, possibly dangerous, definitely annoying, is now proposing teamwork. He argues that the police haven't made a dent in the phantom scythe in over a decade, and honestly, he's not wrong. His pitch? Join forces, bring down the big bad together. He frames it like he's the missing puzzle piece she didn't know she needed, and weirdly enough, her instincts, those finely tuned abilities of hers, aren't screaming liar. If anything, they are whispering something worse. He might actually be telling the truth. The assassin admits, with the smallest hint of humility, that he can't locate the Phantom Side's leader on his own. He needs her, which honestly sounds like a prank to Officer Sinclair, and she's genuinely baffled. Why would a career killer need backup from the very system he's been dodging? But he lays it all out. They'd work both sides of the law, him in the shadows, her in the spotlight, and maybe, just maybe, they'd have a real shot at ending this. After his dramatic pitch, complete with the confidence of a man who thinks he's in a buddy cop movie, he actually asks what she thinks. Big mistake, because, in one swift motion, Sinclair slams his face into the ground like she's stamping out bad decisions. Monster, she calls him, eyes blazing. To her, assassins are bottom of the barrel, below corrupt politicians and drivers who don't use their turn signals. Everything he said. Worthless, or so she claims. But he's not rattled. In fact, he coolly brings up that he spotted her earlier at the cafe, stalking and confident, and deduced her little secret, her uncanny lie-detecting ability. So, if he's lying, she'd know, and since she hasn't flattened him again yet, he knows she does know. He repeats his deal, simple and maddeningly logical. They want the same thing. He's offering inside intel on Phantom Scythe ops, and all he asks in return is for her to feed him details from the police side. Worst case scenario. She gives him an alibi. To him, it's a win-win situation, though judging by the steam coming out of her ears, she's not ready to call it anything but infuriating. Officer Sinclair is absolutely boiling. His twisted logic is like nails on a chalkboard in her brain. She can't figure out what's more frustrating, the fact that he somehow sniffed out her lie-detecting ability, or that he's so confident in it, he's practically betting his life on her knowing he's telling the truth. He promises to help her hunt down the Phantom Side's leader, and in return, all he wants is freedom. A total walkaway deal, no jail, no trial, just a friendly handshake with justice. He even throws in a smug little warning: if she ever tries to toss him behind bars, he'll shut his mouth tighter than a locked vault. But wait, there's more, and with the calm of someone who's clearly done this a few dozen times, he casually announces he'll be on his way soon, like the handcuffs and the very serious firearm aimed at his head are just accessories. Then, in the blink of an eye, he proves it. The cuffs are suddenly off, don't ask how, and before Sinclair can blink again, her gun is on the ground, she's on the ground, and his sword is just a breath away from her face. Surprisingly, he agrees he's a monster. One who doesn't hesitate, doesn't feel, doesn't regret, and if it ever came down to it, he assures her, silencing her would be no problem. Then, just as quickly as he struck, he eases off, sheathing his weapon like nothing happened and dropping one last bombshell: she's got 24 hours to consider the deal. The offer's on the table, simple terms: meet him at the bridge tomorrow if she's in. With that, the assassin turns and strolls off like he didn't just flip her world upside down, disappearing into the night, as if the whole showdown was just a casual chat. Left behind, Officer Sinclair finally picks up her radio, voice steady, but clearly grinding her teeth, and reports that the target got away. No details, no dramatics, just the bare minimum. But inside her head, it's a full-blown storm. The proposal, the power play, the fact that he saw right through her, it's all spinning in her mind like a crime scene corkboard with red strings everywhere. Team up with a remorseless killer to take down the mastermind behind the Phantom Scythe. Or stick to the badge, the rules, and the lonely road of doing it the right way. One thing's for sure, she's got a decision to make, and the clock's ticking. What'll it be? Stick around to find out. Officer Sinclair returns to the crime scene to find flashing lights, blaring sirens, and medics moving like they're in a timed obstacle course. Bodies are being wheeled out, evidence markers scatter the ground, and the air smells like burnt toast and urgency. Her eyes quickly scan the chaos before landing on a familiar face, Officer Kim, who spots her at the same time and practically sprints over like she's trying out for a track team. She's beyond relieved Lauren isn't hurt, or worse, on one of those stretchers. Lauren flashes a reassuring smile, trying to play it cool, but it's hard to ignore the bruises and scratches that say otherwise. Right on cue, Lieutenant Will steps in, brows raised, voice firm, asking for the rundown. Lauren, without missing a beat, admits the suspect managed to give her the slip, and Kim's jaw drops. Shocked she got that close, more shocked she didn't bring the guy back gift-wrapped. But it's the sight of Lauren's battered state that really has her reeling. Even the usually stone-faced lieutenant looks like someone just messed with his morning coffee. Still, Lauren waves it off with a calm tone and a little shrug, owning up to the chaos like a champ. Kim doesn't buy the idea that Lauren let the assassin go. No, in her mind, it's the other way around. Her best friend clearly escaped death, not just missed an arrest. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Will's got tunnel vision for the case, laser-focused on getting a solid ID. Lauren gives her best rundown of the mystery man: dark clothing, quick reflexes, and oh yeah, he brought a literal sword to the fight like it's medieval Thursday. Will, ever the multitasker, tells her to report to Captain Herman at the second crime scene, but not before he grabs some bandages for the gash on her arm. The moment Herman's name comes up, Lauren tenses, like someone just offered her cafeteria coffee, because she's not sticking around for gauze and pep talks. Bleeding arm and all, she turns to leave. But Kim blocks her path, arms crossed and voice full of concern, convinced her friend's got a PhD in overworking herself. Will jumps into the conversation too, insisting he's the one who should handle it, and the two of them start what's basically a passive-aggressive nurse-off. While they are busy debating who gets to save the day, Lauren casually walks off like it's her lunch break, leaving them to argue with empty air. The two meatheads, Officer Kim and Lieutenant Will, finally catch up to Officer Sinclair, who's clearly not in the mood for a group hug. Will suggests she take a breather, hinting she might not have realized who she was actually dealing with tonight. Lauren shrugs it off, guessing the guy was just another phantom scythe lackey with flair for swords. Kim shuts that theory down fast, her look saying, "Girl, please." Turns out, both officers seem genuinely surprised she's still standing, which is always a fun confidence boost. To drive the point home, they decide to take her back to the second crime scene so she can see what they mean. En route, Kim leans in with a casual, "Did you at least see the guy's face?" But Lauren shakes her head, "No dice." Once they reach the scene, it's all flashing lights and taped-off tension. Captain Herman is already waiting and doesn't waste a second before asking for a report. Our girl delivers hers swiftly like she's reading off a menu, and Will backs her up with a firm nod. The captain's face twitches, maybe it's approval, maybe he's just shocked she's functional, but either way, he's impressed. Curious, Lauren glances around and asks the million-dollar question, what exactly happened here? Cue the debrief from Sergeant Liddell, where the victim's info and the motive behind the hit are laid out like a bad plot twist, messy, unexpected, and probably connected to something way bigger. Lieutenant Will isn't buying the neat little bow being tied around this case. Something smells off. Both victims just happened to publicly slam the monarchy shortly before their unfortunate ends. Yeah, that's a red flag the size of the national flag. The Phantom Scythe has been on a spree lately, running around like they are the misunderstood heroes of a revolution no one asked for. But just as conspiracy theories start flying, the forensics team chimes in with a different spin. Apparently, Mr. de la Rocca didn't go down without a fight. The gunshot that echoed earlier wasn't random, it actually came from the victim's weapon. Officer Sinclair perks up, confirming that checks out, since a mystery attacker was packing nothing but a glorified butter knife. The new theory. The assassin broke in, thinking he was walking into an easy kill, only to be surprised by Rocca pulling a gun. There's a bullet hole in the wall, clear as day, so odds are Rocca took a shot and missed badly. As the team takes it in, Sinclair walks them through how the chaos might have played out, the break-in, the scuffle, the missed shot, and the narrow escape through the window. Though it's a messy picture, the pieces are starting to fit, like a really dark jigsaw puzzle with no edge pieces. Sergeant Liddell is all smiles as he praises Officer Sinclair for her top-tier analysis, calling it impressive enough to give the real detectives a run for their money. But Captain Herman isn't handing out gold stars just yet. He cuts in with a reminder that, despite the solid theory, actual investigating should be left to, well, actual detectives. Still, Liddell keeps things professional and announces that a full-scale investigation will officially begin the next day. One thing's for sure, though, both murders were carried out by the same person, there's no debate there. Things start to feel a lot heavier when the conversation shifts to informing the castle and royal guard, because apparently this assassin isn't your average stealthy back-alley type. Will and Kim suddenly go all quiet and broody, clearly knowing more than they are saying. There's a flicker of something personal there, like they've danced with this nightmare before. Naturally, Officer Sinclair picks up on the weird tension and finally asks the question hanging in the air: do they know who the killer is? Liddell doesn't hesitate. Not only do they know him, but the killer left a calling card, just like he always does. And with one simple line, the entire room feels colder. The assassin she faced tonight is none other than the infamous Purple Hyacinth. The moment the name Purple Hyacinth is spoken, something shifts in Officer Sinclair's expression, almost like a forgotten memory tapping on the door of her mind. It hits even harder when Sergeant Liddell hands her an evidence bag with a single, haunting flower inside, his signature calling card. The sight of it sends a chill down her spine, the weight of the situation finally settling in. Meanwhile, in a far-off part of the city, the assassin in question isn't exactly celebrating. He's clearly seen better days, with fresh bruises and scratches painting a rough story, proof that Officer Sinclair didn't leave empty-handed. But here's the unsettling part: despite the damage, he's wearing a smug, almost satisfied smirk. The kind that says every punch, every wound was part of the plan. Whatever he's cooking up, it's clear he's several moves ahead. This isn't just a random killer on the loose, this man is dangerous, really really dangerous. And something tells us, he's only getting started.
Enjoying this story so far? Drop a comment showing your interest in a part 2. Your likes and comments fills my motivation to drop the next part, and also don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, bye-bye.